Okay, the next concept I want to talk about is debug printing. Probably the most kind of simplest, easiest way to debug a program. Well, not always easiest, but this is the only way you have access to in the Arduino system, is to use debug prints. So the idea is you've written your code, it's compiling and running, but it's not doing quite exactly what you want it to do. You've got an error somewhere. You're having trouble figuring out. So you can add debug prints to your code to have your code tell you more about what it's doing, and then usually that helps you figure out where your mistake is. So we'll start out by doing the normal include PixelGrid.h for the library, setup, initialize the PixelGrid hardware, and in your loop you always, of course, clear and you update. In this case, for this program, actually you don't really have to do the clear, but because we're not really going to draw anything. But let's make ourselves a variable. How about float t? So there are several debug print functions you can use. There's print that you pass in an integer, a float, or a string. That looks like this. So if we had int x, we could say print x. Or we could also say some number. This isn't really useful because it's always going to print 7. It's not going to give you any more information. So normally you're printing variables. We can also print floating point values. I should have initialized x. Initialized it as something. We can also print those. We can print messages. To do that, you do print you just put your message in quotes. Make sure you have an open quote and an end quote. And then there's one last function where you can say, and you can give kind of a label. So you can say x comma x. This will be an example of, in the output it'll say x and then it'll have the number for x. And that's useful, like if you're printing a bunch of stuff, you want to easily see which thing is which, otherwise you just see a whole bunch of numbers flying by. So just to review, you can print integers, you can print floating point numbers, you can print messages, or you can print kind of like a label and a value pair. So let's see how we might use that. Let's delete. So imagine we have some code that's t equals t plus something. And then we want to see what t is every frame. Whoops. Might as well use the label version of it. T comma t. Or we can do something like this. Oops. Usually it won't be this verbose because you're just going to delete this code anyway, but it's a good demonstration. So once we upload the code, you'll see it uploading onto the hardware, and now it's running. And what's actually happening right now is those values are going out over the USB cable to your computer. So to see what's coming out, you have to do open up what's called the serial monitor. So if you open this up, here you go. Oh, this is interesting. It's printing it as an integer. Okay, let me go fix that real quick. Alright, let's see what happens now. Sorry, that was a peek behind the covers of the PixelGrid library. You shouldn't really mess with that code. You can write your own code that looks like it though. Okay, so now you see I've got the fractional part of the floating point number. It's not a great example. I mean, hopefully it gives you the idea that you have this capability now. Here's another. Let's go ahead and delete this code, and we'll say if PixelGrid is down. So this if statement will be executed if the user is holding down the up button anytime through the loop, and you can print a message there. Up is held, yes. Okay. I guess I don't need to switch to the view because you don't see anything there. We want to go to the monitor. So it still has all the output from the previous run. You can clear that off by doing that. Sometimes it's good to clear that off before you start your program so you get everything. Now you see if I hold up. And now I can do the same thing for some other buttons. So we could check down. Let's download that. I keep saying download, they call it upload, so I'll try to remember to call it upload. Let's clear this output. Okay. Down is held, up is held. What if I push both? It prints both, right? So you can see how this can be useful to figure out why logic in your program is failing. Like, say you had some, and then you had if val is greater than 20, do this code. Well, it's hard to kind of make these up. Like if you were trying to figure out why this if statement wasn't working, you just temporarily throw a print val here, and then you'd see, oh, val's not ever going above 20, so that's why I'm never getting in here. And then you could look up above, this is trivial code here, but that would lead you to investigating why val was never hitting 20 when you expected it to. It's kind of hard to make up reasons to use debug printing, so I'll just try to start, I'm sure we'll run into bugs in the future, in future videos, and I'll just use it and show you, and then you'll know what I'm talking about when I use it.